Okay, y'all, welcome to Ellis Mowers. We are on part 2 of this Craftsman. It's got a 19 horsepower. It's the 42 cubic inch, the smaller Briggs twin cylinder engine on this thing. Not the original engine that came on this mower, at least it's not what I think, judging by the fact the hood says 15.5. It's got a round hood and a square body on it, so I think it has a little bit of a Franken mower aspect to it. However, it was in running, or it was complete when I got it. I don't have the deck on it and stuff. I'm hoping we're going to get to the steering in this part. First off, I'm still working on the engine. I'm having a little issue with it running, and I've had this green Craftsman, which I think I've finally got sorted out. We'll find out. I've been dealing with this thing probably on and off for 3+ months now, trying to get it right. And I'm going to do things that are similar on this that I did to that engine to see if it'll run better. But now at this point, I'm not going to run it, but what it's doing is it's like choking and loping and not wanting to pick up. Things I have already done to it that I have tried to no avail is I've tried regapping the plugs. I have put the cooling fins and everything back on it. It has a brand new carburetor on it. Good fuel. I've even tried adjusting the governor a little bit, and it hasn't done anything. So the next order of business, and what I did with that mower, is I'm going to clean the heads off of it, which isn't too difficult to do. I just got to get to it, which really isn't that difficult. You don't even have to take your little red cover off of the top here. You just have to take your tins off of each side. I have a feeling, because the plugs are black, probably because it's not picking up and it's dumping fuel and running rich. Because it's dumping fuel, but in reality it's running lean. It's just weird. It's just, these twins have really gotten me, but these twins, so to speak. But let me grab my tripod. I'm going to take my 2 5/16 inch off here and your 2 3/8 inch. This one's a little busted, so I think I'm just going to have to pull it up and just let it sit up because I can't get that bolt off. And then we'll clean the heads out. One other thing is I have 2 good plugs in here. The right cylinder is actually running about 100 degrees warmer than the left. Well, the driver's side cylinder, so it would be the left cylinder, is running 100 degrees more than the right cylinder when you're looking at it from this way. So I'm going to take these tins off, and then I'll show you what you have to do to take the rest of it off here. Alright, so all you need is a couple of impacts, 3/8, 1/2 inch, 5/16. Start with the 5/16. 3/8. Let's see if I can get this thing off. I'm just giving it some force. Nah, alright, I'm just going to pull it up because it's going to make everybody's life easy. It's going to make it a little difficult on this side, but I'll live with it. Alright, so 1/2 inch. We'll get this off. There's a little bit of oil residue right here on this one. So I wonder if I have a little bit of a torque issue. I could put head gaskets on it. I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to troubleshoot here. Taking the plug wire off, 1/2 inch. It's 9 of them. 1, 2, 3. I have a feeling it's going to be extremely carboned up in here. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. These that are rusted, be very, very careful. You don't want to break them. You can see a bunch of carbon on that bolt. Again, I have the big impact because a small impact probably wouldn't break them loose, but I'm using very, very light throttle, so to speak, on the impact. Whoops. A little bit of oil on that one. Number 9. The joy of a flathead. Holy moly. Head gasket looks fine. Smells of fuel though, I tell you. Let me show it to you. Wish this little cover wasn't in the way. So that's that. Let's make sure all the valves are moving correctly. Come on. I'm gonna put y'all down here so we can see it still. There we go. Exhaust. Intake. Guess that will be top dead center right there. Look at how much black, just soot and corrosion and stuff is on this. They're not corrosion, but just carbon built up on this. So, excuse me. Let me show you the head as well. There's a ton of crap on the head there. So I'm going to clean these heads off. My guess is since this side's running hotter, actually I don't know. We'll have to check the other side to see how bad it is. But that's this side. So I'm going to take a wire brush and just clean this off and put it back on, just like you saw me take it back off. I'll show you the clean product before I put it back on. And then when I take the other one off, we'll compare it. I think that looks a lot better there. It's really hard to get in these little crevices, but I could probably do a little bit better job on it. Obviously, working with what I got here with just wire brushes and whatnot, cleaning the nooks and crannies out. But I got like 90% of it, probably 95% of it. So let me pop this head back on. I'll show you what the other looks like as well. Alright, so here's the other side. Again, it's equally as bad. And this is exactly like the other one. There was a little bit of an oily residue on this one. Just like the right side, the right side of the other Craftsman that I did. I'm going to clean this off, and hopefully this thing will start and run a little bit better. I did put a bigger jet in here. See if that helped it. It did help it in terms of exhaust temperatures. It was running about 100 degrees cooler. So I'm going to put that jet back in it. I've just been having trouble with this thing like loping, trying to start. It'll go boom, 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 and it won't really pick up. So I figured cleaning the heads is a good thing to try. All the fins and everything are clean as well. I do need to give this thing a wash. Probably help it out some. But we're getting there. I think cleaning out the carbon is going to help out quite a bit with this, just like it did with the other. We'll find out, though. We'll find out. Alrighty, this looks relatively straightforward. This hemisphere thing, so to speak, is shot on this. So it'll turn left, but then it gets to a point to where the teeth actually grind back, or not grind back, but they get to the point where it won't work, and then it just quits turning and just spins in place. So I've got a good one here. This looks pretty straightforward. I think all you got to do is take off this cap here, which I can grab a screwdriver to do real quick. Just got to take off that little cap, and then on the inside there's 4 bolts, 2 right here in the front and 2 in the back, that you have to take off. The 2 in the back are going to be a little fun, but we'll get them. let's see. Yeah, the two in the back are going to be a little bit fun, but we'll get them, like I said, with all the steering and whatnot in the way. And then on the bottom, you just have to disconnect your arm to the steering. Obviously, I already have the deck off of this thing, so it makes it a lot easier to access. But you have to take off that bolt right there, which I believe is a 9/16. You just have to disconnect your steering arm. And once you do that, then you should just be able to pull it out. So let me get those loosened up for us. And I'm going to take this off. This is like a, I think this is like a 3/4. I'll sit y'all there for a second. Just got to take this little cap off. Oh, it's a small bolt. It's only like a half. Might even be a 7/16. You just take that's how you take the wheel off. So let me grab the tools. I'll take this off. It should just pull right off. Take those 4 bolts off right there and take off the steering arm down on the bottom, and then we'll pull this thing out. Alright, y'all, I took the wheel off and I forgot about this piece right here. You got to take this piece off in order to get it through the actual what is this? Dash, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just taking a hammer and just slowly hitting it out because it's got a spacer on it. You have to be careful because you don't want to chip anything. But I'm just gently tapping it out. I'll tap that out and then that'll get it to where we can slide it down through there. So next order of business, obviously I'll eventually get this thing tapped out, and then that'll just leave you the shaft. Next order of business is to get the 4 bolts next. So to get one of the back bolts out, there was one additional step that I did. It involved actually, so there's an E-clip that holds on this plate here, and this E-clip, or this rod, I took the E-clip off and was able to move the steering mechanism forward, and I was able to grab an impact on that left rear, or the right rear one, excuse me. The other bolt in the back, I had to go at it with a ratcheting wrench from underneath. There's enough space, but there's not enough space on this on the right side. So I'm going to set y'all down on the tripod, and I'm going to get this thing off for you. Shouldn't be terribly difficult now, hopefully. Let's see what we can muster to get this thing out of here. Let's see what kind of angle I can get y'all at so that y'all can watch me. I should just be able to feed it down. And hopefully I've got enough room in between the engine and the shaft here to get it off. Alright, so I have to pull it up, pull it down and out. It's going to be tight. Yeah, that ain't going to fit, darn. Let's see how far I can pull it up. Nope. I'm bleeding too, that's awesome. Let's see what we got here. I'm wondering if I can take off regardless, is it? Wonder if those screws right there I can take off and just bend this back some. That's what I want to try and do. That screw's already loose. Oh, because it's got a nut on the back here. Screw number 1. Yeah. That'll probably give me enough leverage. Let me just see. I gotta put a wrench back there. Hold on. A half. Yeah. Let me get a 1/2-inch wrench. This is the screw I'm telling you about. So I've already taken this one off because it was already loose. I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to do my best to try and pull this dash forward and see if that's going to give me enough leverage in order to get this thing off. Alright, y'all, I did that, and there's still not enough leverage on the dash, so there's a little plate here. I'll show you. It's a 5/16, took a couple 5/16 inch to hold it on. It's just screws, it looks like. So I'm going to do that, and that should allow me to lower it so that I can get it above the engine and pull it out. So we'll see if that works. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's perfect. I didn't even have to take the dash apart to do that. I mean, it was just 2 screws and 2 nuts. So this one's off. Let me show you the damage on it. That right there is why it wasn't turning. I don't know if y'all can see that the you see where there's like that little indent right there in the I guess in the little hemisphere steering gear and stuff. That would be the reason why it did not want to come off, or to steer to the right. So it would steer to the left all day long, but it would not steer to the right. So wonder if I can get. You can usually buy this whole mechanism for nothing. Even there's some play in the bushing there on the steering. So this is basically as good as trash. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other mower that I have, and then we'll go ahead and put this back together. This job is not terribly hard to do. I've done a lot worse than this. So, like I said, the most important thing is when we put it back together, we make the steering lined up correctly. Once we do that, we'll be golden. Alright, so while I'm at it, I wanted to show you the differences and some of the ways that these are put together, so to speak. This lawnmower is a similar deal as the Craftsman, but it actually houses its little bushing down here under the console, as opposed to the Craftsman, which bolts right to the console. I'll show you an even older mower, and I kind of went with the easiest of the two, so to speak, to get this off. In theory, all this should work, but this one's actually got four mounting points where this one sits. You have to take all 4 of those off, so that's going to be a little bit more difficult to get to take off. But it's still got the same shaft and wheel and stuff like that. That shaft actually is a better design than this shaft. Just the gears are bigger and all that. But I've already parted this mower out a little bit more, and this one was a lot easier to get. The additional steps I've had to take so far to get this one out is I took 2 3/8 inch right out right here. It's apparently mounted down here somewhere as well on the console, but it's, of course, it's behind. It's in between the console and the frame, so that'd be a little bit more difficult to get out. But I think it's just a nut holding it, and the bolts are actually inside of the console. So, interesting design. This is kind of a special type console, because I've never seen a Craftsman that's got the blade engage on the side like this, which is kind of weird, but it works, I guess. So I'm gonna, and this also has this little piece up at the top as well. So I don't know if that's going to come into play whenever I put this shaft on, or if I'm going to actually have to take the steering gear out of this other one to make it work. I don't know. Oops, I've already thrown it in the trash. But if I got to take it out of the trash, I will. So I was able to actually access all 4 of these bolts from the top on this one. I just used a smaller ratchet and socket for the 2 in the back, and so I didn't have to disassemble this at all, which is kind of nice. The steering arm disconnects the same way. So I'm going to take those 5/16 inch off right there, which should allow the little plate to come up and give me more space to pull this one out. And we will, and I think I'm going to have to take this off as well. It's just I'll probably go ahead and do it. Just looks like a half. Yeah, it's a half. A couple of halves take that little spacer piece off right there, and then that will get us the ability to slide the shaft up under there. So that's what I'm going to do, and then we'll reinstall this one onto the other mower. Alrighty, y'all. So the shaft, both of the shafts have got a bunch of play in them right here at this bushing. One more than the other, or one doesn't have more than the other in terms of play. So what I'm going to do, because these are a little bit different and I don't know if it'll fit onto this mower like it is supposed to in its current state, because I've got to get this rusted out piece off too. I could shorten it, but again, I don't know if, well, let's see. It should be enough. What I might do first, actually, because I was going to take off the gear, I might take off this shaft just in case if I get one that breaks, and then just chuck the rest of it. Since the gears are shot on this one, I'll still do that. Let me grab y'all on camera here. I'm just literally going to beat it off, and hopefully that will do what we need it to do. Let's see if this works. I gotta get y'all out of the way. Y'all are in the way. Get you further back. There we go. Slowly but surely. Maybe. Tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this vise out. Hopefully my vise is long enough to do this. Oh, I see. I got another E-clip on the inside that's holding it in. So let me pop that E-clip out, and hopefully this thing will pop right on out after that. So it had some bushings and stuff in it too, so. Alright, let me get that E-clip out. Let me find a screwdriver that I've been using. There it is. That was exciting. Splines are kind of stuck. Yeah, we're getting there. That'll get us out. Ta-da! Now the rest of this mechanism you can pretty much buy as a unit, so I'm not even going to worry with it, especially since I've got an extra one here, and this gear right here is shot, so I'll toss this. I'll keep the steering shaft though. And I've got an extra one. I've always got extras of those. So I could do one of two things. I could swap the shafts out on this, or what I think I'm going to do instead, I've got to get this I've got to get this little extension piece off of this one. So what I'm going to do is tighten up the vise again. I'll tighten up the vise, I'll get it in the vise, and then we'll pick up from there. Alrighty, I got this one in the vise. I don't know if this thing is going to be coming off or not. It's pretty caked on there. See if I can find some persuasion that'll work. Let me turn it a little bit so that I can get it right there at the gap. Is it coming? Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, prove me wrong, TV Blaster. Awesome. Alright, so let me show you how this one works. It looks like it's an adjustable shaft. So I'm going to try using it, but what I had to do first is get this mounting point off here, or this mounting bracket, because I don't need it on this mower. It's a different way of setting it up. Let's see how this sleeve will work. Let me see if the sleeve will work on this. So it looks like this sleeve right here, this little plastic sleeve will actually work on the mower. So, and let me make sure it fits up through. Yeah, so this will actually also fit up through the existing place in the shaft. Tell you what, we're going to make everybody's life easier right now. We're going to go ahead and do this before I put everything back on to the mower. I'll take this off, and I'm literally just going to feed this shaft. Since it's shorter, it's a lot easier too. Get that shaft up through there and put it back in place. Put everything back in place. And now, what I'm going to do, it actually makes it a lot easier in that case too. What I'm going to do now is, I'm going to slide this back on. I'll slide it back on a little later after I get it all bolted down here. That way that I'm not fighting anything. But I'll get those bolts in. Those 4 bolts, just like I took them out, except I'll put them back in, obviously. And then I'll get the shaft on, as well as my little plastic bushing that I have just misplaced. Because this metal one is wore out pretty badly. Here's that plastic one. And that thing falls into place just, well, I may not be able to use it, I'm sorry. Thought it was going to be able to fall into place like so, but it's not. So I will have to, unfortunately, use the worn out metal one, because I don't have another one. But you put that back into place, mock it up, and then I'll put this shaft back into place, which I could make as tall as I want to. I could make this thing drive like a bus if I really cared to do that. The problem is, once you put the steering wheel cover back on it, it's going to make it taller than it needs to be. I just have the steering cover. This is also what happens when you start working on things. Working on 2 different tractors, you get a ton of parts just lying around everywhere. Anyways, let me mock up the steering cover. I'll go ahead and get these 4 bolts back in. And then we'll go ahead and line up the steering. Excuse me. And get this thing hopefully steering, because we got the engine sorted out. If we get the steering sorted out, then all that's left to sort out on this thing is the deck, which is nice. This mower's not going to be worth a lot of money, but it's always a fun project to do, to see one go from rags to riches and then leave and live a better life than what it was going to. Oh, hey, here we go. So you mock this up. Oops, wrong way. Pop it in like so. We're going to line everything up. I think it's going to have to go down to the furthest hole on the shaft, so we'll do that next. Alright, y'all, let me start over again. I know that I'm not showing you everything on camera of me putting it back together. However, the good news is it's very easy. You just put it in, you have those 4 bolts. I put the 2 in the front end first, that way I could just thread the 2 in the back end. I actually was able to use a smaller socket and ratchet to get the 2 in the back tightened up. So we got that. I was able to feed the shaft up through. I put that plate on right there for the 5/16 with 2 5/16 inch deals going on there. This little plastic cover here for the steering is pretty much done. I could probably take it off, but I'm going to leave it on just for the time being. what I did is I got the wheel about into the middle here, what it looks like on the little bracket, right? So, and then I put the wheel on straight with that, put that little piece on that y'all saw, the little spline looking piece that goes on with the locking nut. It was this piece. You just pop that on and pop the wheel on top of that. I also had to drive that little adjustment down to the bottom portion so that it correctly fit the mower, because that was an adjustable wheel. And I fed that bolt through it that I showed y'all earlier. Pop this little Craftsman cap back on. Alright, so all things considered, it's not too bad. This little piece right here is never going to be perfect, unfortunately. It's just going to be there. So now, what I have to do now is reconnect. Here's what I'm going to do. Make sure your wheels are straight. Put the wheels in the straight position. Straight, right in the middle of the little splines, which is good. Probably as close as you're going to get. Everything's straight. Now we're going to go under the mower and let's see if I can actually do this without knocking you all over. Not really. I don't know if y'all can see that, but we're going to pop this on to the steering arm, which is there somewhere, around somewhere. Right there. Yeah, right there. I don't know how y'all can see that. There's a little lock washer that goes on the other side of it. Don't forget to put that back on. So, there. Lock washer. And nut. There you are. Just tighten your 9/16 nut back when you do this, and you're in good shape. And I'll get my ratcheting wrench back as well. I don't know if y'all can see what I'm doing, sorry. But that's what you're putting back together, and everything's straight again. Obviously these tires leave little to be desired, but I mean, like I said, look at the lawnmower that it's on. It's not really going to hurt the value of it that much. I'm going to tighten that 9/16 inch up, and then we'll test out the steering. Give me just a second. Alrighty, let me show you. Everything's back on. We have a bunch of play in the steering. That's typical of any Craftsman of this era. Right, left, right, straight. That's a lot of play, but oh well. It's just worn out bushings. Again, I have, well, what I have is a parts mower out there, but I have $0 in this so far in terms of the steering repair. So this is basically free steering repair from a parts mower, and it's probably taken me, I don't know, I haven't even been trying to go quickly, 2 hours. I could have done it probably in about an hour if I'd have, you know, just roll on with it. But the steering is fixed. Let me put the plate back on it. This plate. I need to put some gas in it. And shoot, we'll take this thing for a drive down the driveway, and then all that leaves is to actually get it cutting again, which would be kind of nice. I got the deck. I'll show you real quick before I put all the stuff back together. I have a spindle. We have to put a spindle on this deck trying to clean out some things out back here a little bit. It's helping. If I put a deck on a lawnmower, it helps out a lot, actually. Oh, do I not have a guard to put on it? Oh man, I don't know if I have a guard to put on this deck. Darn. Anyways, put a spindle on the deck and put the mounting arms and stuff back on it. It's complete. It just needs to be put back together. And except for this little chute thing, which I might just put my mulching cover on and order a mulching cover for it. I don't know. But this is here, and like I said, I'll put this on. I got a deck belt on order and stuff like that. So the deck's in great shape. It's one of the 12 gauge steel decks, which is awesome. And I think this mower has been kind of Franken-mowered a little bit over the course of time, because I don't think these mowers came with a 12 gauge steel deck. I think it's too early of an era for the body, and this mower definitely did not come with an opposed twin, unless the hood has gotten swapped on it, which is likely. So because the date code, I tell you what, the date code actually indicates that this could have had an opposed twin on it originally. So I could just have a swapped out hood on it. Who knows? All I know is that we're about to get it running. Let me put the battery tray and the battery in it. Alrighty, y'all, let's go for a ride. I put some gas in it. See if it'll crank up. The ignition switch is a little wonky. I got to put a switch on it too. Rumble. I opened up the jets a little bit because it was running on the hot side. I figured when the blades are on, it'll be a lot better. Let's go for a drive. All 6 speeds work in the transaxle, which is nice. Never been known for turning right very well, so it's about like my personal riding mower. For a little while, and then I'll come back to it. But the steering works great, except for the little play it's got. So, alrighty, we're going to end part 2 here. Actually, y'all saw me drive it around. Again, tires will leave little to be desired on it. But just remember, this ain't really going to be much of a lawn mower anyways. Tires do hold air. I think this right one has a little slow leak. I can put a tube in it and be okay for it. Or I might have a couple. If I got to put a tube in one, I might as well just put one that has a little bit better tread on it back here, which I do have a couple, and those are not it. I could potentially put one off of this mower on it, which I might do because this is a parts mower anyways. I think I might have one more back there. I'm not quite sure. I think they all have bearing issues though. So, yeah, that one's got a bearing issue, I think. Can't remember. Yeah, it's got bearing problems. So I'm not going to really worry about that. I'm going to keep these tires for that mower. I might put, like I said, I might put those two tires on, especially since they're in decent shape, or at least one of the two. The left one over there holds air, or yeah, the one on the left holds air. The right one has kind of got a slow leak on it. So, but I'll reserve that for part 3. I've got the engine running pretty good. It's running a little on the rich side because I drilled the jets out, but it's running at a good temperature to where it's not getting too hot and cutting off and not wanting to restart. I hope. We'll find out on the test mow. Steering good, driving good. So part 3, we'll go ahead and put the deck on it. I do have to put, because I was dumb and tried to steal a spindle off of the deck and broke all the bolts off of it. I've got to put a spindle on this deck, and probably a couple other things. It doesn't have any brakes on the deck, so that's going to be interesting. But everything else is there on it. I got to do a little painting to it. And I have to find some sort of cover for it as well. We'll also in part 3 do an ignition switch. I need an ignition switch for this thing, so I'll have to go buy one because I don't have one here. I don't think that'll work. So I'll have that going. Like I said, I already got it washed, as you can see. Probably do the old Walmart seat cover on it, or might just leave it like it is. I'm not sure. A couple other things. I got to clean the garage out. The hood looks decent, but we're making good headway on this mower right here. So we'll keep on rolling, and hopefully we'll have a good running cut machine in part 3. Like I said, this is not going to be more than about a $350 machine after I get finished with it. But $350 is better than no dollars. I'll be making just a tad bit of money off of it, but it's better. Like I said, it's better than nothing. So I'll catch y'all on part 3. I hope y'all enjoyed watching me fix the steering mechanism and adapt it and show you the differences and whatnot in between this steering mechanism and the one that came off of this mower, which I'm hoping somebody will come and get. If not, I'll strip the transaxle of it and throw it out at the road and say free, scrap. So anyways, that's kind of the deal. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll catch y'all in part 3. We'll get this thing cutting and hopefully sent on down the line. But if you want to catch me on Instagram and Facebook at Ellis Mowers 09, that'll give you some updates as to what I'm doing in real time. You can catch me right here on the next video, which will be part 3 of this Craftsman. See you then.